Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining this webinar. I will do a quick introduction to the project CircInWater, because that's the main reason why we invited Brian from Cleveland Water Alliance to tell something more about how to go international and mainly to how to go to the United States when you're like a water tech company. So yeah, CircInWater, it's a project we started in 2022 and we are ending it at the end of June 2025. So only a few months left. And the main goal of this project was to support European SMEs to develop their innovation, and mainly SMEs focusing on the agri-food sector and the energy-intensive sectors. We set this entirely we developed this project together with partners from Finland, so Blue Economy Mikkeli and Water Cluster Finland, two clusters from Czech Republic, CREA and ISOC, the French cluster Aquanova, and Sinai from Spain. During these years, we started to set up an innovation lump sum scheme. So several SMEs received 60,000 euros to develop their innovation so that they could develop from TRL level 5 up to 9. We also handed out knowledge lump sums. So when SMEs needed expertise, they could ask for 4,000 euros. And the last one is the internationalization lump sum. So, and it's still open. So if you have goals to go to the United States or to Canada, and you would like to receive a lump sum, so that's 100% funded for flight tickets, hotel costs, or to cover up exhibition fees, you can apply for it. And of course, this webinar, we organized this thanks to this project. So if you want to apply for the CircInWater internationalization lump sum, you can do that via circinwater.grantplatform.com. Next week, we have another webinar, so you can sign up via that link as well. Like I said, at the end of June, we are finalizing this project, but we hope that we can start a new project in autumn, in October 2025. Unfortunately, it will not be with the same consortium. As the European Commission said, we don't want to have an entire water cluster, so we split up. So hopefully that will make our chances bigger to get at least one approved. But yeah, we will keep you informed about that, because if some of us get it approved, then yeah, there will be new lump sum schemes available for SMEs. And of course, in a few weeks, the Aquatech in Amsterdam is organized. So on the Wednesday, we are organizing a workshop, Water Smart Connect, with a lot of cluster organizations. And the main goal of that is to bring SMEs, but also other parties together to see if we can work together and to apply for new European projects. So if you think this might be interesting, then please join this workshop. And at the beginning of the afternoon, we also organize a matchmaking lunch. And that will be at the Danish Pavilion. And I believe they are in Hall 1. And in case you would like to matchmake with other parties, we set up a B2 Match platform. So then you can sign up for that and to meet new people as well. So those are like all the activities we are organizing in the last few months of this project. So yeah, that's a short summarizing of this project. And now I would like to give the floor to Brian.
Thank you, Rick. Let me get my... All right. Yeah, good afternoon for most of you, and good morning to a few of my colleagues here in the States. I'm Brian Stubbs, and I'm the Executive Director and President of the Cleveland Water Alliance, a water technology cluster based in the Great Lakes region of the U.S. Joining me today will be one of our accelerator partners, Nina, from Current, just because I thought some of the research work they're doing around the circular economy, along with some of the circular economy work we're doing, would be of high interest to this group. So we're excited to be here. This is a great team. I'm really jealous that you have this like kind of EU-focused program, Rix. And just so I don't forget it, Natalie and I will be at Aquatech. So as many of you that want to meet in person, we welcome that, and looking forward to being there. And then on the other side of the year, we have WEFTech in Chicago this year. And I think that would be an excellent opportunity for some of those companies thinking about traveling here to come here. We'll do a reception for all the international partners on Sunday night that we do every other year in Chicago. So who is CWA? So as I mentioned, we're a water innovation cluster, and it's really about driving innovation, driving technology. And we achieve this through, a series of test beds, establishing trials. We've invested about 13 million US dollars into our test beds over these last 4 years, optimizing our smart Lake Erie watershed, which is just this massive smart and connected system that I'll get into in a moment. We really focus on market-driven needs and then matchmaking with end users. I think sometimes we lose sight of what is the market telling us that they need. And when we have that perfect fit, we can really, really get new products, new innovations to the market. We also offer non-dilutive grants and funding. We provide meaningful data, and that last one's extremely important, market visibility for your new technology as you're thinking about not only the United States, but the North American market. So a little bit of background here, our Smart Lake Erie watershed, those are a couple of our tower climbers. I always joke that I never thought I'd be writing checks to pay for tower climbers, but flash forward many years later, and as we've built this telemetry system, this is one of the benefits and fun things. So for those that don't know, the Great Lakes are a little over 20% of the world's fresh surface water. And what we've done with one of those 5 Great Lakes is to create the largest digitally connected fresh body in the world. So a little over 17,000 square kilometers of telecommunications coverage. In that, we've deployed over 400 sensors throughout and 20 plus million data points gathered annually. And these numbers are always growing, and there's always like new people coming into our smart lake. So, keep that in mind. But there's definitely European companies who have leveraged this data around trialing and creating new products and new data products. And a little bit of what this looks like, this is Lake Erie that you see. You can see where we're headquartered on the bottom right, Cleveland, and kind of the area that we're covering. This is growing statewide. And what this has allowed us to do is to enable a vast increase of automated real-time monitoring. And to give you a little idea of how big those Great Lakes are, here's a little overlay with Europe. They are massive. They're really inland oceans. So it's a really fascinating starting point for us. And, we're playing around with all sorts of different type of measurements, parameters. We're trialing a lot of new parameters, new technologies around nitrates, nitrites, real or near real-time E. coli sensors, all sorts of fun stuff that we have high interest from our European partners. So we wrap that into what we really are known for, which is our test beds. Accelerating these innovations really requires the ability to demonstrate, show off, and prove that technology. This we didn't develop out of thin air. This was a program we started 5 years ago with the help of a consultancy called McKinsey & Company and our head of innovation, Ms. Evie Holst. And it was really trying to ask this question of why don't we see more water tech getting into the market? And what we noted was, we see a lot of technology in the research bench. Like in the basement of the research facility at the university or the corporation. And it works fine at that scale. But as soon as you take our environmental technologies into the market, into an actual utility, as an example, it really hasn't been tested and vetted. And we're talking about mission critical infrastructure. So because of that, there was a lot of fear of trialing things, and thus we were having trouble getting products to market. So our test beds have allowed us to actually deploy within the environment that the technology was meant to be deployed in, and with potentially the customer to get that real-time customer feedback. So our test beds really can demonstrate, prove out that technology. Utility matchmaking with pilots, massive thing that we're doing. Some of these are easy and fun and quick, and some of them take years in the making. I'll give you an example of that in a moment. We also lead some market-led open innovation challenges. The one we're probably most well known for is our lead service line detection without breaking ground. The idea that we can detect lead service lines that need to be replaced throughout the United States. And if you don't have to dig up a hole because these were buried 100 years ago, we don't know where they are. You can save a lot of money and accelerate the swap out of these lead service lines. So any technologies that can detect lead service lines without breaking ground have high interest, and we've built a whole test bed based on that. And at this point, we're a little over 70 deployments from over 14 countries into our test beds. I will note that Europe has been the lion's share of those technologies. There's a great history over these last few years of almost a half of our deployments coming from Europe at one point. So our test beds, again, really enable the innovators, entrepreneurs, tech companies to test, trial, pilot, and demonstrate your technologies in real world conditions across a range of environments. Really crucial and key as a takeaway point. And sometimes, your technology may be a earlier stage technology readiness level or TRL 6, 7, 8. That's okay. We can test, we can trial, we can go back, make improvements with you, even get into things like rapid prototyping for changes, and then redeploy. Or if you're at a TRL 9, maybe you're already deployed in Europe. The idea to pilot or to demonstrate as the first in North America is something of high interest to it, and we do that as well. What this allows us to do, benchmarking. We've invested millions of dollars into great equipment. So let's take IoT and sensors. We have pretty much all the best in class sensors, such as YSI, a great Xylem brand, based here in Ohio, manufactured here in Ohio. These are not cheap sensors. These are $5 to 10, 15, $20,000 a pop, US dollars, per sensor. And we've been trialing all sorts of like lower cost, maybe not 99% effective, but maybe 97% effective, but a 10th or a 20th of the cost. High interest in that. We'd like to support that full IoT life cycle. Our digital assets is probably where we see the most growth and where we have the most easy ability to plug and play your technology within our range of environments. Key point here, insurance. We underwrite a lot of this risk, and that's been a really key point as you demonstrate your product in the North American and the US market, is the ability to trial it, but to de-risk that trialing. We have 5 different insurance policies, starting with Lloyd's of London down to much more specific bespoke insurance companies. So we can have that conversation with you. And again, I want to emphasize, this is open to all innovators, from global multinational companies to the R&D lab in Prague, as an example. Utilities. So we work with over 30 plus utilities, and that's growing quarterly at this point, both public and private utilities. And what's really cool is all various sizes. So our utility partners can be some of the biggest in the United States down to, utilities that maybe are operating for 10, 15, 20,000 people. And we've led a variety of custom pilot projects, especially around some hard tech opportunities with these utilities. Probably the one we're most excited about right now has been a on-site generation of hypochlorite. This was a technology that we found in South Korea with a company called TechWin. We found them a pilot partner here regionally, mid-sized utility about, and I'm not, and Bricks hopefully won't make fun of me for this. I can't do my metric calculation, but it's about a 70 million gallons a day utility, so pretty good sized utility. And we got backing through, in this case, through the Ministry of Environment and Infrastructure in South Korea to pay for this pilot. And it literally, years in the making, arrived on the back of a container about 6 weeks ago, and it's now being plugged in and deployed, and it'll be operational in March. But in this case, this is the first time this technology has been demonstrated in all of the Americas, and this will become a showcase site for showing this technology, and of course for this company, getting them to understand the market, getting the market to understand them, but also to match them with manufacturers. This is big equipment. No way can it be shipped on a regular basis from South Korea. So we're finding contract manufacturing for them as an example. Industrial meets the circular economy. Obviously, you know, the circ economy, your program around the circular economy is of high interest and is growing here domestically. And, you know, two significant programs that we're working on for this right now, both funded by the U.S. National Science Foundation. My colleague Nina will tell you about the project we're working with Current and Great Lakes Renew here in a moment, but the other one's more pure manufacturing based. We're an old manufacturing region of the country. We still manufacture things, so the idea of the circular economy, everything that we're going to need to upscale and up demonstrate technologies from a circular manufacturing of high interest to us. So if you have something like that, we'd love to talk with you, a variety of different ways that we can look at trialing or testing those applications, be it, you know, industrial or potentially some energy savings applications within the utility space. Our test beds also touch residential and commercial. We're the home of a major faucet and in-the-house plumbing company, several in fact. And with them, we're working on things like smart water in the home, point of use detection of contaminants in the home. One of them has developed and taken to market an acoustic detection system to detect a leak within the house and automatically shuts off your water so that your home doesn't and your basement don't get flooded. So a high interest here as well. And of course, this also ranges even to like microplastics and, you know, washing machines and fun stuff like that. So I'm a firm believer in, like, I can talk all day, but to show you some of the technologies we've deployed in our test bed over this last year and a half, 2 years is a better demonstration. There in the center, you see another South Korean technology, the Wave Talk. It's a biosensor on a chip. It's fully vetted now for turbidity, and it's moving into biological sensing in real time. Each chip's only about $20 US. We just ran 10,000 of these with LG as a pilot. And, you know, they also won a Consumer Electronics Show, which is a big deal globally, award just earlier this year, last month, in fact, in January. That top right, I was talking about that on-site generation of hypochlorite. You can see the shipping container there. They painted it really fun for us, which I loved. That just arrived, but that's a demonstration of some of the big utility demonstrations. At the top, you know, is a PFOA concentration and detection technology that came out of here. And I think, are tracking about 23 of those technologies right now. And bottom right is one of our washing machine microplastics capturing. I'm sure some of you know the company from Europe called Matter. Very similar and kind of some complementary and also some competitive components there. But I just wanted to give you an idea of how broad this kind of test bedding, this innovation kind of ecosystem is for us. It can go onto the open water. It can go into the built environment, the utility, the industrial. The work going on right now around, you know, data centers is another good example, and water reuse is of high interest to us. So when you think about coming into the United States, think about these things. You know, think about one, the ability to test, trial, demonstrate, give confidence to the market that your technology works. We're here to help you with that. Our partners, such as the Water Alliance in the Netherlands, is a great conduit to get to us as far as that part of the conversation as well. So we're here, and when you come in, we can help you with that market visibility. You know, really get you that sunshine that you're going to need. Help you think through, what does this look like? What does a pilot look like? Is it the right pilot? Is it going to give the visibility to the market? Then we go into the market insights. What do you know about the U.S. market from a data marketing perspective? We do a lot of this work, and we're starting to put together kind of more intelligence around there where we can help you navigate into the market. Brix has heard this a dozen times, but I love what our team developed and what we call the soft landing. And that's really what we're talking about here today, is how can we soften the landing for you to think about coming into the U.S. Market? That one, ability to test, trial, and demonstrate. We can give you that access to legal support. IP is confusing, especially if you're not a big company. Understanding what you need to do in the US. So we've got access to a variety of different legal support that we can introduce you to. Regulatory support, we can help you with that and make introductions. Contract manufacturing and understanding of the BABA rules. This is going to be a bigger deal just with some political changes here in the US. Buy America, Build America for a lot of our utilities. There are rules around that, or there's also contract manufacturing that we can help you with. So it's a conversation we're ready for. We've been preparing for about 5 years now, but we can really help get you into the market, even when the market's a little, I'll just say dysfunctional here at the moment here in the States. And then there's also potential incentives and financing. Some of this can be direct, non-dilutive funding. We do have grants, financing options, and I'll get into one other program we're working on too in a minute. Another thing that our team's developed that we're really excited by is our pilot partner circular. This is the idea of, let's say your technology is mature. Maybe you're doing good sales in Europe, but you haven't thought through or had the ability yet to enter the US market. We have the ability to see if we can match you with either an industrial or a utility pilot partner to demonstrate your technology. And, we can get more into that more on a one-on-one, but Natalie, who's on this call, is a great point of entry for getting more information on all of this and getting you into our kind of innovation portfolio. Of course, we also, when we talk about the soft landing, we talk about the business hoteling space. This is a picture from our office. We're headquartered in partnership with a manufacturing growth network called Magnet. So it's that perfect kind of circ economy kind of component, because the biggest effort here regionally around manufacturing is where we're housed. But we have hoteling space, we have desk space. If you want to come in, trial something, pilot something, be part of our pilot partner circular program, you can fly here and work out of our office. We'd love to have you. If you want to launch your company out of our office, we're happy to help with that. This really allows for a really cool collaboration. You get to know us, you get to know workforce, you get to know sales, marketing people. It's really cool, really interesting. So we have several international companies in our office now, and it's been a blast, and I love the energy that creates. So I'll come back to this now. We also are standing up right now a $25 million equity investment in a venture capital firm. We're not making investments yet. I'm still fundraising on it. But this is the sort of additional kind of activities that we could potentially provide to you as you're entering the North American market. Are you going to need capital? Is it debt capital, or are you open to equity financing more for these younger startups? So bringing those home before I turn it over to Nina. CWA Centric connects over 100, key water industry corps, all the big names, from Hach to Xylem to BASF to Veolia, all participate with us. All the big engineering firms participate with us. Right now, we're at about 33 water utilities participating with us. We expect that number to double by the end of this year. We've got some exciting things to announce at the beginning of April on that. Research universities, you may need access to research. You may need access to engineering from a research standpoint. So we've got partnerships with 23 research universities. Many of these are Research One universities, which is the highest kind of caliber of research universities we have in the United States. So that's really fun. Over 6 federal partners. And then we work and tap into over 12 different accelerator programs throughout the US. We always say, maybe we're not the expert, but maybe we know somebody who is the expert. So if you come to us, if we don't have the answer, we're going to help get you the answer through these accelerators. And really that key kind of takeaway, those key programs, our Smart Lake Erie watershed, which is just massively, attraction from an IoT sensing, little robots that swim in the water, the next generation of all sorts of fun things. Our test beds as a whole, a great way to validate in a risk mitigation strategy way your technology in the United States. Our open innovation challenges, just something, we don't do these every year. They're big, they're massive. I mentioned the lead service line component. That one's still in progress, but we do these. And look, these are market fed. This is the market telling us we have a problem, we haven't been able to solve for it. Company saying, if it was easily solvable, we would have solved for it. So it's saying, okay, there's an issue here. Let's put refined resources towards it. And of course, our Freshwater Innovation Fund. So with that, yes, I will be at Aquatech. Brix, I'm looking forward to participating in your event and make sure Natalie and I will make sure we get registered there to meet some of your companies. I'll be presenting a couple times on this same soft landing program while there, but we do have a rep in Europe, Leonard, who's in Germany. He will be with us, Natalie and I there. He's a great contact. He's a great conduit, a great also kind of first point of contact to getting to us. And here's my contact information. So if you need it, just reach out anytime. And with that, I'm going to stop sharing. And I'm going to turn it over to Nina with an introduction of, the United States has been going big on a few kind of narrower areas on a variety of topics, including like quantum computing, next generation of lithium ion battery technology. And one of the things they've gone big on is this idea of water as a really key driver. We've never been good in the United States about getting water the love that it needs. So there's been a lot of us doing these efforts out of bootstrapping our way over the last decade or two. But flash forward in the last 4 or 5 years, suddenly the conversation is changing. Water is a major input, a major constraint in growing our market. So with that, the National Science Foundation, as well as the Economic Development Administration, wanted to go big on a few areas. And one of the ones they went big on was, this idea of water and the Great Lakes region. So I don't want to steal her thunder, but one of our partners, is Current through a program called Renew. And Nina, who we will be kind to her because she's only been on the job 4 weeks. And I don't think she slept over that 4 weeks. But I would love for you to get to know that program as well. So Nina, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Who could ask for a better introduction? Let me see if I can make myself share correctly here.
Looks good.
It looks good. Okay. Brian, thank you so much for including me in this opportunity. It's lovely to meet everybody. As Brian alluded to, I am a very recent transplant to the world of water. I'm a molecular biologist by training, so I've thought about water in a very different set of contexts. But what that has, and I, been in and around primarily the biopharma industry for decades, in particular in the Boston area. And so what I've done is spent an enormous amount of time thinking about, you have been calling it clusters, I would call it an ecosystem, but this idea of how do you accelerate things from the lab to the market? And how do you create the ecosystem of all of those different players around you that you need to be able to do that successfully and well? I have a colleague who likes to say that when you're an entrepreneur, every day is a valley of death. And sometimes it feels that way. And what I think about and what I'm excited to bring to and help Current to be able to do is to figure out how to address that at every step along the way. TRLs, technology readiness levels, have been thrown out a couple of times hither and yon over the course of this webinar so far. And I think about commercialization starting at TRL 1. And so this is the kind of ecosystem that Renew, anchored by Current, is trying to create. So Current is a Chicago-based water innovation hub, not quite 10 years old, spun out by the city of Chicago government in, I think, a very forward-thinking way, to do a couple of things: to grow, as Brian alluded to, this circular blue economy, to accelerate innovation, and to do that by solving very pressing water challenges. As Brian mentioned, the United States National Science Foundation made this incredibly audacious bet about a year and a half ago, that insofar as it took, say, 60 to 80 years for Boston to become the biopharma ecosystem that it is, can we accelerate that process, and can we do it in different kinds of industries in different parts of the country across the United States? And that is what Great Lakes Renew is an effort to do. I don't know if there are a lot of chemists on this webinar, but I think of Renew and what Current is doing as a catalyst in the true chemistry sense of the word, being a convener to bring parties together to lower the barriers to doing great things. And in particular, we are trying to do that around a very focused problem set, which is that the industries of today and the way that we use water today, unfortunately, in many ways, leaves valuable resources in wastewater and contamination. And can we develop and accelerate a set of technologies to address those very specific problems? And can we do it faster and better, addressing and overcoming all of those barriers to water technology commercialization that Brian mentioned? And in so doing, right, so can we spur the circular economy transition specifically around selective separation technologies, taking PFAS out of water, at the same time reclaiming things like critical minerals out of wastewater, and do that in a way that brings together all of the different parts of this economy and builds new industries around those goals. We have sort of 3 pillars to being able to do that. Like I said, we start at the very beginning, TRL 0, let's say, and we support and fund use-inspired research and development. Use-inspired research is that idea that a lot of research oftentimes, and I'm a molecular biologist, I love basic discovery science, but we want to be able to do science and support science that is really geared around not just developing and uncovering basic scientific principles, but towards use and implementation around these really important problems. Then commercialization. What does it take to help move that out of the lab? Oftentimes, I think academics assume that if it's been published in a journal article, someone will find it and turn it into a company. And that's a stochastic process, the probability of which I am not willing to wait for. And so how do we accelerate things getting out of the lab into either licensing straight into companies, into startups, into whatever is the best vehicle to get it out there in the world to make a difference, to partner with folks like the Cleveland Water Alliance and others who've been thinking about this in very concrete and amazing ways for years, and bring everybody together to catalyze that. And last but very much not least, to build the workforce that can do all of this, starting with really young people all the way up through upskilling folks who've been in the economy for a long time to create these jobs of the future. Brian has been selling the Great Lakes region already for quite a few minutes. I don't have to necessarily keep doing that. But we are, as he said, sitting on 20% of the world's freshwater, surface freshwater. This is a part of the world, part of the United States that has historically been very strong in a number of different heavy industries. And these are the kinds of industries that are evolving into the next generation economy that are definitely dependent on water. And you can, read the news for 5 minutes today, and you'll see probably 14 articles about semiconductors or quantum or AI. All of these kinds of next gen economies use an enormous amount of water. Can we do this more sustainably? Can we reduce our water usage? And most importantly, can we create that kind of circular process that does not turn that water into useless, unreusable wastewater full of either contaminants or minerals and materials that we could use again? We also have an enormous coalition of partners around this work. And this is really why I think this region is so well positioned to do this. We have national labs. We have some of the greatest universities in the country. We have great political will behind this effort across those 3 states highlighted in dark blue are the core to start this off, but expanding outward across the states around the Great Lakes and hopefully beyond. And we have a track record. We have done this for a number of years. We have partners like Brian who've done even more. And so hopefully we can build upon this in the next couple of years with the support of the National Science Foundation and others to speed this up in all ways. A couple of early wins over the last year or so. We have pulled together a research consortium, a nascent industry consortium, funded 13 R&D projects that are in process right now in various different areas. So from developing new materials around selective separation, new sensors, new digital tools, and new testbed facilities. We've started training programs across that entire spectrum from kindergarten on up. And I am actively dreaming up and turning into, hopefully, hard reality, that infrastructure to accelerate innovation out of the lab into the market as quickly as possible. Test beds have obviously been a topic. Brian has really explained how very, very necessary they are. And his test beds in Cleveland are really the core of what we want to build across this Great Lakes region of connectivity amongst test beds at various different scales, from benchtop to industrial to utility, so that the right matchmaking can happen between technologies and companies and the places to trial and demonstrate technologies the most effectively. Water is obviously global. I think I was told some 30, 40 years ago as a small child that all of the great conflicts of the 21st century were going to be around water. I hope that doesn't prove to be true, but I think it is obviously clear to me that this is becoming a central issue for so many different regions across the world. We have a number of opportunities coming up that I want to let you know about. In about a month, we're going to launch applications for an accelerator program in partnership with an institution here in Chicago called MHub. This is a hard tech accelerator. They have all of the very cool machining tools and 3D printers and whatnot that you need for rapid prototyping. We're going to pull together mentors from water-related industries to coach and support startups, and very much encourage you to keep an eye out for that and apply when that opens up in a couple of weeks. We are also launching a new call for proposals for R&D projects. This is, again, early stage research in partnership with the 13 or so universities that are part of our research consortium. So if you're interested in partnering with academic scientists on a project, there are going to be a number of about 6 or 7 different particular topics that we're interested in supporting research on. And we can hopefully help you make a connection to some of those academics if that's something that you're interested in. And then looking ahead, working on building that entire continuum of support services that bring together partners like Cleveland Water Alliance and others, so that that baton handoff happens seamlessly all the way across that translation and commercialization continuum, including connections to funders, including connections to places to have that soft landing here in the United States and beyond. So lots more to come. I very much encourage you to sign up to be on our mailing list and keep track of all of our news, because I think I've used the word accelerate in 100 different ways. And one of those ways is that Current itself and Renew is accelerating in its work. And so we have lots more news coming out all the time and lots more opportunities for everybody to get involved.
Thank you, Nina. Really appreciate that. And it just, I hope, shows everybody how broad our US ecosystem is. I think, I always look at the Netherlands as being, best in class, along with Singapore, way ahead of the curve. And, we've got a lot of catch up here to do. But I just thought it'd be good to show that it's growing in terms of expertise, growing in terms of value to the US. With that, Rick's happy to answer any and all questions, and I think you've got a great way to communicate with us. Don't forget about Leonard in Europe, and Natalie, who's also on this call.
Thank you so much, Brian and Nina, for your presentations as well. I think we got one more question in the chat. I don't know if you are able to answer the question. I think it's from Danny Truxell from Royal Haskoning. And he asked, the main restriction we have experienced over the years is that US consulting engineers act as a gatekeeper to end users. These major US consulting engineers have proven to be a major hurdle and avoid any risk of new technologies. They rather stay with proven and established technologies. Is this still the case, and how do we overcome this? Do you have an answer on this, or?
Yeah, he is. They are not incorrect. That has been a tradition where you've got to get the engineering organizations to be excited about your technology. Where I think it's changed is, let me go back to the on-site generation of hypochlorite project. In that case, we actually brought in one of our leading engineering firms to help us with that project, with the idea that they will see the value in it and they will help sell it for our South Korean partner TechWin. So on one hand, there's still a bit of that going on. That's not incorrect. On the next hand, there are ways around that. Way one is, again, as I mentioned, these potential pilot partner projects that we're doing allows us to bring your technology into the sunshine of these engineering firms. Two, our relationship with utilities is growing as far as trustworthiness every quarter. And we're getting more and more utilities saying like, oh, this is really cool. This would really solve a problem for us. Can you help me sell our engineering on record for that? And we do that as well. We also have several engineering firms on our board of directors. So I guess this is a long answer to say, yeah, that's been something we've identified, but there are ways around that we're working on.
Nice to know. Yeah, and Danny, if you have questions or like, you always can reach out to Brian. And if you want to have, they gave a nice presentation about how they can help you out. So feel free to contact him as well. So
well, Rick's also just follow it. We're seeing more and more of the engineering companies coming to us saying, what are you seeing as far as new technologies, new innovations? So keep that in mind as well. They are realizing that they've got to be smarter with some of the technologies. How they did it the last 50 years is not going to work for the next 20. It just isn't. And, there's all sorts of challenges around that. And, suddenly there's a little bit more fear in their heart of like, okay, we need to have innovation as part of this. And the big one, Danny, is digital water. We're seeing all the major engineering firms have this one key contact on digital. They're all coming to us right now. It's a blast. It's fun.
Thank you so much. Danny, do you want to respond to that? Because I think you opened your mic.
Thanks. Yeah, I opened my microphone. Just thanks, Brian. I'll connect with Brian on the Aquatech in March. So I think we can connect. We have a standard for last Koning. So Brian, please feel welcome to join because I have some great information to share with you and the hurdles that we overcome, mainly in Canada, which we have done a pilot with the University of Waterloo for a year and a half. I think Canada is different, of course, than the US, but Ontario is particular not easy. So yeah, we can exchange some information. So I'll connect with you during the Aquatech.
Beautiful, love it. Thank you.
So thank you all for joining this webinar because I think we are to the end of this webinar. So thank you, Brian. Thank you, Nina, so much. And hopefully we will see all of you at the Aquatech.
Looking forward to it.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.